7 p.m. Thursday, May 30th, here in Seoul.
These are the top stories at this hour. A cruise boat crash in Budapest, Hungary, killed at least 7 South Korean tourists, while leaving 19 others missing. Rescuers are working against the clock to find them. We have the latest.
Meanwhile, a Korean rescue team is en route to the Hungarian capital after President Moon Jae-in orders his government to use every means possible to save the missing tourists and to support the survivors.
Acting U.S. Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan says North Korea's recent missile test was, in fact, a violation of UN resolutions, showing contrast to President Trump's earlier claims.
Seoul's foreign ministry fires an official at its embassy in Washington for leaking details of a recent phone conversation between Presidents Moon and Trump.
And moviegoers in Korea rush to see Bong Joon-ho's Palme d'Or award-winning film Parasite, which is now in local cinemas. News Center begins now. Good evening and welcome to Arirang News Center. Coming to you live from Seoul, I'm Han-daeun.
And I'm Noaram. Thank you, as always, for joining us this evening. Now, let's get the latest developments on the deadly cruise ship crash in Budapest, Hungary. So far, at least 7 South Koreans have been confirmed dead, while 19 others remain missing, including a 6-year-old child.
The boat carrying a group of South Korean tourists quickly sank near a bridge on the Danube River after colliding with a bigger cruise ship. Let's get further details from our Yoon Jung-min, who is at the travel agency in Seoul that organized the trip. Jung-min, fill us in.
Right, Talon and Adam. I'm currently out here at the travel agency Very Good Tour in Seoul, which was organizing the trip. So far, 7 people have died and another 7 have been rescued. A search and rescue operation is still underway for 19 South Koreans who are still missing. On Wednesday night at around 10 p.m. local time, a tourist boat carrying 33 South Koreans and 2 local crew members capsized after a collision with another cruise boat on the Danube River in Budapest. Take a listen to what the travel agency said.
There were no witnesses. We only heard about what happened from 5 of our staffers that are there. Our boat was anchored, and right before its departure, a large Viking cruise collided with it. That's what we have heard so far.
So far, 6 females and 1 male passengers are confirmed to have been rescued. Some are being treated at local hospitals, while others have been discharged. The travel agency refused to disclose information on any of those who died or who are still missing. The agency says a rescue operation is still underway, but as the accident happened at night and there's been heavy rain in Budapest, rescue efforts have been hindered.
Right, that's very worrying to hear, and we do hope that the rain clears and make rescue efforts a bit more smoothly running. What do we know about the passengers and the nature of their trip?
Well, the travel agency says most of the passengers were on a package trip, some of them traveling with other members of their families. Most of the travelers are said to be in their 40s or 50s. The agency said they were on a 6-country tour of Eastern Europe that included visits to Croatia, Slovenia, the Czech Republic, and Hungary, as well as the nighttime cruise on the Danube. The agency said 5 relatives of the passengers departed Incheon for Budapest at 1 a.m. on Thursday, and 11 other relatives or friends will be heading out soon. Travel agency staffers have also been dispatched to the site. The agency apologized for the accident and said they are currently making every effort to help locate the remaining victims and offer support to those who have lost loved ones and those who have been rescued. That's all I have for you at this hour, but I'll bring more updates on that. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Jung-min, for that. Do keep us posted throughout this evening. South Korea's foreign ministry also worked against the clock to brief on the latest updates following the accident.
Now let's connect to our Kim Ji-yeon, who is at the ministry. Now, Ji-yeon, what are we hearing from the ministry now?
I'm afraid there's little more to tell you since by earlier reports some 3 hours ago, South Korea's foreign ministry repeated again this evening that it's making all efforts to get support from hospitals near the site, as well as consular support from Hungary for a prompt and effective search and rescue. The ministry has sent its condolences to the victims and their families, especially due to the fast-moving currents in the river after the bad weather on the night of the incident, which has hampered the operations there. There are so far no confirmed additional survivors other than the 7 initially announced. Also, how they were rescued is still a mystery. It says it has yet to officially identify these 7 survivors, the 7 victims, with the 19 missing Korean nationals. Since they were not being able to identify them, it has yet to officially confirm their nationality. Hungarian authorities have taken the bodies to a nearby university hospital for examination, and the ministry says again that it confirmed that a total of 35 people were aboard the boat, among them 33 South Korean nationals, mostly tourists. The other 2 were crew members. All 7 of the survivors are Korean nationals. So far, the ministry says none of them are in critical condition, and 3 of them have already been released from the hospital. Another one is to be discharged today, but the ministry says it'll update us if their condition changes. The ministry said the families of the passengers have all been in contact, and it has already contacted the Hungarian authorities for consular and equipment support. 4 officials from the foreign ministry left Seoul for Budapest earlier today at around 1 p.m. Korea time. A second team, including officials from the National Fire Agency, Coast Guard, and the National Intelligence Agency, will be dispatched tonight, and the remaining experts will leave for Budapest tomorrow. All in all, a total of 37 officials and experts, including the Korean Navy, are currently planned to be sent to Budapest. Korean officials from nearby countries will also arrive in Budapest to help with the search and rescue operations.
Jian, questions are being raised about the cause of the boat capsizing and why the South Korean people heard about this through foreign media reports. Do we have more details on the first responders?
Well, first of all, the name of the boat, its size, and so on are still not confirmed by Korea's foreign ministry, which says right now all efforts are focused on the rescue and search operation. Right now, that's being spearheaded by the Hungarian National Police Agency chief, and vice ministerial level officials are at the site supervising the operation. To prevent personal items and remains from flowing out into the river's estuary, the Korean foreign ministry has asked Hungary's neighbors to cooperate in the search operations, and helicopters have also been dispatched. Again, the ministry has confirmed through a Hungarian diplomatic office that the passengers were not wearing life vests, although they were available in the boat. We'll have to find out more about the root cause of the incident and why they were not made to wear the vests. The foreign ministry said the boat crashed into a cruise ship of Sweden origin that was heading for Slovakia, and this is presumed to be the main cause of the incident. Currently, the cruise ship in question is being held by Hungarian authorities for investigation. On the first responders, the foreign ministry said the South Korean government was made aware of the incident at around 5 a.m. Korea time. That's 10 p.m. Budapest time, and the ministry said the local authorities were notified by a passerby that witnessed the incident. It said it may take a while to hoist up the sunken boat due to the depth of the river. More details are to be unveiled after the rescue and search operations come to an end. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Jian. That was Kim Jian reporting from the Foreign Ministry in Seoul. Now let's connect to a foreign affairs correspondent at Euronews in Hungary, near the site of the incident, to hear about the latest developments regarding the deadly accident. For that, Zoltan Sheboshegi now joins us through Skype. Thank you for joining us. Let's start off with the latest update on the search and rescue operation. We were seeing heavy rain causing strong currents on the Danube River, hampering the rescue operations overnight. How are the weather conditions now, and what are you hearing now about the rescue efforts?
Good evening from Hungary. First of all, let me express my condolence to all the South Korean nation in the name of mine and my channel, and also all the Hungarians. How you can see behind me, we have torrential rains experiencing in the last few days, even few weeks. So the Danube has high tide. We have a lot of huge bridges in every 500 meters on the Danube, which are really low. So the traffic is really difficult, basically on the Danube also. But now they closed this part in the city central of the Danube. So now you can't see any boats on the river. The rescue mission is really, really difficult because of the streams, because of the bad visibility, but still already the mission found the boat. They don't know how much time they need to take it to the ground. But unfortunately, because of the streams, they were searching first, like yesterday and today morning, close to Budapest, and now they are searching all around, all along the river in the Hungarian part, and they have a connection with the Serbian authorities also. So now they are working together because it's possible that they can find bodies in the Serbian parts also.
Now, it's still unclear whether the passengers were wearing life vests at the time of the accident. Do cruise ships in Hungary normally provide life jackets to passengers? I mean, isn't there a law that mandates provision of life jackets, given the fact that there are hundreds of cruise ships operating on the Danube River every day?
The cruise ships, they need to have life jackets, but if it's a closed boat, and it was, they don't need to wear it. Unfortunately, it was in the press conference of the police. They already mentioned that when they crashed with this huge hotel boat, the boat of the Korean tourists sank in 7 seconds. So these people doesn't have time to take the jackets or jump out from the boat. Most of the people, because of the bad weather, were inside in the boat. So they didn't have enough time to realize what a tragedy is coming. So I think this is the main reason. We have low for the life jackets, but normally the tourists, they don't have to wear it. It depends on their habit.
Right. Now, the Korean government has confirmed that the cruise boat capsized near a bridge as a much larger cruise ship collided with it just moments before docking. Now, are there any updates that you know on why the collision occurred?
Still, we don't know why the collision occurred, but there was an interrogation on the boat yesterday night and today morning also. They were interviewing all the captains, crew members, and guests who were on the boat. But one of the really popular Hungarian newspaper found a crew member who told that actually they were expecting an accident like this, because during the main season, the summer season, the Danube is filled up with boats. So they are passing by each other so close, and there is huge differences between the allowance, for example, of these small motorboats and the huge hotel boats. So the captains, they had radars, but it's possible that they didn't see it in the rain, in the dark. So actually, the experts now they are telling that it was really, really dangerous and not properly controlled.
A heavy rain have caused strong currents, which of course made circumstances unfavorable for passenger ferries. But we heard that all cruise ships and ferries were operating as usual. What do you make of that?
Actually, I think the Hungarian authorities, they don't have a plan for bad weather. And still, for example, we have high tide, but normally we used to have worst. So it's still not an occasion, not an emergency occasion to close, for example, the river. 2 years ago, we have a bus accident. A lot of Hungarian students died. And of course, after it, the Hungarian parliament changed a lot of laws. I'm sure that this is what's going to happen in the next few months also.
Well, thank you very much, Zoltan Shebashegi, for sharing with us your insights into the matter. That was Zoltan Shebashegi, the Foreign Affairs correspondent at Euronews in Hungary. Now, let's get a check on what the South Korean government is doing. It is racing against the clock, exerting all-out efforts to rescue the missing South Korean tourists. Let's bring in our chief political correspondent, Shin Se-min, for more.
Sammy, the president has taken immediate measures, sending his top diplomat to the site of the incident, and he also got off the phone with the Prime Minister of Hungary. Tell us more.
Right, shortly after being briefed by the head of the National Security Council Committee, the Chung Eui-yong, the president has ordered his government to use all possible means, and that including the diplomatic measures to help find and help cope with the search and rescue operations of South Korean tourists still missing after that boat capsized in Budapest. And the president, during an emergency meeting earlier today, urged and pressed the importance over and over how much it is important to handle this matter in a speedy manner. Listen to this.
실종자에 대한 구조와 수색 작업이 신속히 이루어질 수 있도록 가용할 수 있는 외교 채널을 총동원해서 헝가리 당국과 협력해 주시기 바랍니다.
And moments ago, we were told by the top office that President Moon also got on the phone with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, just as you have said, to get his help in handling the situation as it unfolds. South Korean President asked for the cooperation of local authorities in the search operations, as well as with the repatriation of those who died, to which the Hungarian Prime Minister responded that his country will fully back such efforts with all their hearts. Guys?
Right, the government has reacted quickly to the news, and the president has ordered the dispatch of a rescue team and the foreign minister herself.
Right, shortly after being briefed by local authorities here in Seoul, the president has ordered a formation of a government-level response team, which was headed to be by the South Korea's Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa. And as part of pulling all strings possible, we were told by the authorities here in Seoul that Foreign Minister will be leaving for Budapest later today to help cope with the search and other efforts taking place at the site and navigate with the situation there. And also the dispatch to a rescue team asked for the dispatch for a rescue team from Seoul that includes experienced rescuers who took part in efforts when the Seoul ferry capsized here in Korea 5 years ago, taking some 300 lives, mostly young students. And the top office added that all developments are being reported back to the president simultaneously. Back to you.
Our Shin Se-min at the presidential office first. Thank you. South Korea might be calling off the high-level weekly meetings at the Inter-Korean Liaison Office, seeing as the ranking North Korean official hasn't shown up since February when the Hanoi summit fell apart. A high-level government official said Thursday that Seoul is thinking of sending its liaison office minister only when needed instead of every Friday. Still, the official said the contact office will function just as well since the liaison officers there meet every day. The official said it's regrettable that there can't be meetings on a regular basis, but added that the two sides will meet when they need to. The defense chiefs of South Korea and the U.S. will meet in Seoul next Monday. Defense Minister Chung Kyung-do and acting U.S. Secretary of Defense Patrick Shanahan are expected to touch upon pending issues such as their joint military drills and the eventual transfer of wartime operational control to South Korea. Just before the meeting from this Friday to Sunday, Defense Minister Chung is scheduled to go to Singapore to attend Asia's biggest annual security forum, the Shangri-La Dialogue. There, he will call for close cooperation among the participants to achieve the successful denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Different parts of the Trump administration see things differently when it comes to North Korea's recent short-range missile tests. Trump has said he doesn't think they were a violation of UN resolutions, but now the acting Secretary of Defense has joined those who think they were a violation. Our Kim Yo-sun has this report.
Acting U.S. Defense Chief Patrick Shanahan has stated that North Korea's latest test firing of short-range projectiles into the East Sea this month was a violation of UN Security Council resolutions. Talking to reporters on Wednesday, Shanahan stressed that what the North fired were indeed short-range ballistic missiles.
These were short-range missiles, and those are a violation of the SCR.
This is the latest assessment that contradicts earlier comments made by President Trump. During his joint press conference with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Tokyo on Monday, Trump said he didn't think the latest missile tests violated UN resolutions. He also tweeted Sunday that he was not disturbed by the regime's firing of what he called some small weapons. Shanahan, however, also stressed that the Trump administration aims to continue dialogue with the regime while keeping sanctions and pressure in place. Washington's ambassador to Seoul, Harry Harris, also says the U.S. will continue talks with the North despite the regime's latest test launch. Speaking at the Jeju Forum on Wednesday, he highlighted the fact that President Trump is keeping the door open to negotiations. He also praised Trump on how he's dealing with Pyongyang, while adding that the international community needs to be patient. Kim Yeo-san, Arirang News.
Well, South Korea is soon to make an $8 million donation to the World Food Programme and the UNICEF for humanitarian assistance to North Korea. The WFP says Seoul's contribution will be used to improve the nutrition of the most vulnerable groups in the north, i.e. infants and pregnant women. He added that the WFP closely and frequently monitors how the food aid is distributed. Oh Jung-hee reports.
South Korea's donation of $4.5 million will be used to improve the nutrition of infants, pregnant women, and breastfeeding women in North Korea. That's according to Im Hyung-jun, the head of the UN World Food Programme's Seoul office, at a policy debate Thursday organized by Seoul's state-run Unification Institute. Im explained that the WFP runs three major pillars of programs in North Korea: nutritional support, food for work, and emergency operations. And of those, nutritional support is the top priority.
We have 11 factories in North Korea that produce super cereals and nutrition biscuits. This is the fortified biscuit we produce in North Korea. And this is super cereal. They have large amounts of nutrients.
The WFP frequently monitors food distribution in the north, he says. Around 50 WFP staff, local and international, watch over 60 counties, monitoring them up to 150 times a month.
In 2017 and 2018, we conducted monitoring more than 2,800 times. We've been doing the monitoring since the mid-90s, and it's improving by the day. In the past, we had to wait for 1 or 2 weeks, but now we can do it within 24 hours. We hire Korean-speaking international staff.
Out of $8 million that South Korea will be donating for the WFP and UNICEF's humanitarian work in the north, $4.5 million are set to go to the WFP. Seoul's committee in charge of inter-Korean exchanges is currently reviewing the matter, and the actual delivery of funds to the agencies is expected to happen in early June. Meanwhile, South Korean experts who attended the policy debate agreed on the need for solid mid- and long-term programs to improve North Korea's food security. They say it's not only natural disasters that take a toll on the regime's food production, but an overall lack of cultivated land, capital and infrastructure, as well as deforestation. Oh Jung-hee, Arirang News.
Seoul's foreign ministry has decided to fire a mid-level diplomat at the Korean embassy in Washington for leaking the content of a recent phone conversation between Presidents Moon Jae-in and Donald Trump. The decision was made at a disciplinary hearing earlier today. The official responsible for the leak says it was unintentional. Another official from the embassy who failed to keep the information secret got a 3-month pay cut, while another will face an independent disciplinary hearing this week. In other news, Korean stocks rose today despite another big dip on Wall Street. The rise is partly thanks to a lower tax on transactions that took effect today. But there are still concerns over the US-China trade conflict and a possible sign of recession from the bond market. Kim Hye-sung reports.
The benchmark Kospi rose Thursday by 0.8% to close at 2038.8. This rebound comes after the Kospi shed more than 1% in the previous session, bringing it to the lowest level since January. The bounce back was led by net buying from foreigners thanks to a lower stock transaction tax and better performance by Korean IT companies. But the rebound was limited as trade tensions between the U.S. and China are showing no sign of easing and because of concerns over global growth. U.S. shares fell sharply on Wednesday. The Dow Jones Industrial Average shed more than 220 points, or 0.9%. The S&P 500 lost 0.7%, and the Nasdaq 0.8%. This as U.S.-China trade tensions continue to weigh on stocks after Chinese state media suggested Beijing may slash exports of rare earth minerals, a key component in devices ranging from smartphones to TVs, opening another front in its trade war with the U.S.
The trade conflict with Beijing could not only hurt the Chinese economy, but also the US and the global economy, and Korea in particular, affecting intermediary goods and trade. The Trump administration's latest currency tariff threat is also a huge risk factor weighing on the global economy. The stock market will remain volatile for some time.
Uncertainties over U.S.-China trade tensions and global growth led investors further into the relative safety of government bonds, pulling down yields. The yield gap between the U.S. 10-year Treasury note and the 3-month Treasury bill, often watched as an early signal of a pending recession, slid to a 12-year low of minus 13 basis points. The U.S. dollar rose for a third day versus its major peers, including the Japanese yen. Gold, another investor safe haven, climbed, and oil retreated. Kim Hae-seok, Arirang News.
Chinese technology firm Huawei is stepping up its fight against the United States restrictions. The question here is, how will this conflict affect South Korea? Our Ko Ryun-hee has more.
Since the Trump administration added Huawei and its affiliates to trade blacklist, countries around the globe, including South Korea, are bracing for the ripple effects. Although industry sources say large conglomerates like Samsung Electronics and SK hynix aren't planning to immediately cut ties with Huawei, analysts predict there will be an impact in the long run. As Washington aims to cut Huawei and its affiliates out of the global market, Korean firms that provide parts for the Chinese company's finished products are likely to be hit. One of Seoul's main export destinations is China, with the percentage of total shipments marking more than 26% of 2018's total. Breaking it down by major firms, Samsung Electronics sales in China in 2018 accounted for more than 17% of its total. For SK hynix, it was 47% in the first quarter of this year. An expert in the field provided specific numbers.
Huawei announced earlier that it purchased more than $10 billion worth of parts in Korea last year. And according to Samsung Electronics' quarterly report, Huawei is one of the main customers of the Korean firm. For instance, Huawei accounts for 3% of total chip sales.
However, the outlook for the smartphone industry appears brighter. Samsung Electronics accounted for more than 19% of the global market share in the first quarter of this year, while Huawei came in second with around 15%.
Just looking at the smartphone industry, I think there might be some benefits for Korean firms. There are other competitors as well, but Samsung's global market share might increase a little due to the Huawei ban.
To prepare for the upcoming changes, experts suggest the diversification of export destinations. But coming up with competitive products is more important to create demand from countries other than China. Ko Ryun-hee, Arirang News.
The Palme d'Or winning film Parasite was released to the general public in Korea today, and local movie fans rushed to the theaters to get a first look at the much-anticipated movie. Our Lee Min-sun went to hear from the audiences on the first day of screening.
Excited and curious, on the first day that director Bong Joon-ho's new film Parasite hits theaters across Korea, movie fans rushed to cinemas to see what captivated judges at Cannes. Some fans came to see the movie as soon as possible, intentionally avoiding any spoilers so they can fully enjoy the director's masterpiece.
I came on the opening day because the press have been talking about the film so much. It's an internationally recognized film, so it won't be disappointing. I wanted to enjoy the film itself, so I didn't even look at the synopsis.
The film was beyond my expectations and even gave me goosebumps. I really think Bong deserves a genre named after him. I'm really proud of this film as a Korean and a movie lover.
I was deeply touched by the director's earlier piece, The Host, so I came with high expectations and it was very fun and inspiring. I will make sure to come to the opening day for Bong's next films.
As the film crosses over genres from black comedy to thriller, some viewers found it a bit different from what they had expected.
I came with big expectations, but the film was much heavier than I thought, and I don't know how to put it. But it's somewhat tragic and makes my heart feel bruised.
I came from Gyeongsangnam-do province to see this film on the big screen. I had high expectations since it had won an award and received such great reviews. The ending was totally unexpected and gave me something to think about. I don't watch the same movie twice, but I might for this one.
Taking up more than 70% of ticket pre-sales, Parasite still tops the ticket reservation ranking. Hundreds of thousands of people are lining up to check out the film, and the number is likely to increase with the weekend coming up. Lee Min-sun, Arirang News.
Chinese tech giant Huawei has launched an open lab for its next-generation 5G wireless network in Seoul, but amid recent blacklisting by the United States, the event was kept low-key. Huawei said it plans to invest about $5 million in the lab and build a 5G ecosystem through cooperation with Korean IT firms. The initial plan to invite the press was cancelled, but representatives from Korean companies attended the event. Apple has won a patent for a foldable screen display that could be applied to iPhones and its other devices in the next year or two. Apple submitted the application early last year, which was among a number of patent applications the tech giant drafted around the idea of a foldable display. Samsung and Huawei have been the frontrunners of foldable phones, but their devices are yet to hit the market. Google has changed its terms and conditions deemed unfavorable to YouTubers after a request by South Korea's Fair Trade Commission. The FTC wanted the firm to revise clauses that allowed the video streaming platform to arbitrarily delete and reuse users' content. Google says it will now inform users at least a month in advance of any changes to its services that may be unfavorable to them. The revision will only be applied in Korea, but the FTC hopes it will be expanded worldwide. Local auto industry experts predict the number of self-driving cars will surge in the near future, especially with the emergence of 5G. At a forum earlier today, executives from the motor and telecommunications industry discussed how to integrate 5G into autonomous driving. An official at the Korea Automobile Manufacturers Association estimated that up to 40% of new car sales in the year 2030 will be vehicles that are fully autonomous in controlled areas. That has been your 3-minute news flash.
Tonight, let's start off by taking a brief look at the weather in Budapest, Hungary, where rescue operations are still underway to locate the 19 missing South Korean tourists after a cruise boat sank today.
Right, and as we heard during our newscast, there have been days of heavy rain there, and the level of the Danube River has been rising, and the temperatures are fairly low as well, so difficult conditions to conduct search and rescue operations. Let's get more from our Michelle Park at the Weather Centre with the weather in Hungary and Korea.
Hi guys, now more than 57 millimeters of rain fell over the last 4 days. Now, along with the rain, temperatures have also been lower than the seasonal average, which increases the risk of hyperthermia. So not very ideal weather conditions, but the rain is set to ease off from tomorrow and the temperatures will also increase. Now, as for tomorrow's weather in Korea, it will be overcast in most areas except in the northern parts, which will be influenced by the high pressure front in the afternoon. Now, checking out the temperature readings in detail, the morning lows will range between 14 to 18 degrees Celsius tomorrow, Seoul kicking off to 16 degrees. And into the day, cloudy conditions will lower the mercury by between 1 to 5 degrees. Seoul will reach up to 24 degrees, and Gyeongju can expect the highest temperature to 27 degrees. And we can expect clear sunny skies with the temperatures getting warmer over the weekend. I'll leave you with the weather conditions around the world.
That will wrap it up for this edition of Arirang News. Thank you as always for watching.
Stay tuned to Arirang for more analysis on current issues on News in Depth coming up next.